Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Liverpool, and this time we were away at the Emirates down here in North London for a game against Arsenal. A game that, in many seasons gone by has always been a very tough game for us coming away to the Emirates, but Jurgen Klopp was unbeaten against Arsenal. Well, that was until today. It was a game of everything that has improved and is good about Liverpool, but a reminder of where we came from and the mistakes that still are kind of deep-rooted within our DNA almost. It kind of felt like at times we were going back to the old Liverpool of sorts as we took another loss of the season, our third one in the Premier League this season. And it was very obvious, I think, to me at least, that it's not really the motivation. I think it's more the concentration that looks to have gone from the players. I think the motivation is there when we were behind and we're trying to chase the game. The motivation was there to find the equaliser. Although we didn't get it, the motivation was there, and you could see that from the way we played, the types of balls we played, and things like that. So I don't think it's the motivation that we've been suffering from a lack of since we wrapped up the league. I think it's the concentration that's actually been the kind of limiting factor for us in the defeat against Man City, the draw against Burnley, and then now this defeat against Arsenal, which was great for them. They're still trying to see if they can maybe finish in the Europa League position. I guess it keeps that kind of race a bit interesting. I'll maybe say, we did everyone a favour. We made that race a little more interesting. But a couple more changes for Klopp at the beginning of this game, bringing in Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain back into the team, bringing in Trent as well after not starting him against Burnley and preferring Nico Williams. Back to, I'd say, probably based on the team that we have, probably our strongest 11. I think the only conversation, we talked about this in a couple of episodes, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but the only change or kind of question about it being our strongest 11 would be in that midfield position, whether Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Wijnaldum, who is our best 11 without Henderson. It's hard to say, but on that point of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think he did kind of really well. I think he didn't create any kind of huge chances either for himself or for others. He had the one shot in the first half that was fairly straightforward to the goalkeeper, but the position he was playing was quite interesting. I thought he was almost playing a step ahead of Fabinho and Wijnaldum. He kind of was more of that attacking kind of midfielder and was linking up with Firmino, maybe more so than we've seen in the past, and more so than we would see from someone like a Jordan Henderson in that position, for example. And I think he did really well. In past episodes, I've talked about not maybe making the most out of Oxlade-Chamberlain and playing him out wide, where Klopp has utilised him quite a few times this season. But I think that position he was playing today is kind of the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain position. And I'm sure he's had many conversations with Klopp, in private around wanting to play in that position, because you can tell he's just a lot more comfortable there. He knows what to do. He roams around a bit, pops up on the left sometimes, pops up on the right, and just all in all, I think for me that is his strongest position. So the game started fairly well actually from our side. We dominated the ball. We pushed Arsenal back. We were pressing them when they did win the ball back and they wanted to kind of pass the ball up and get kind of forward quickly. We cut those balls out. We kept the pressure on them. Everything that has become so staple with the successful Liverpool side this season. And all of that dominance came to fruition in a goal in around about the 20th minute, where it was a great little bit of play, firstly by Andy Robertson to win a header against Torreira, I think it was. He then broke forward with Firmino laying the ball off to him, and it was a nice little cut back into Sadio Mane, who just finished the ball past Martinez, a keeper with no chance really. And we found ourselves 1-0 up with very little threat from Arsenal. They got nowhere near kind of Alison, nowhere near really troubling the centre-backs. But yeah, that was kind of where the calamity began, let's say. After that point, I think the players, if they weren't relaxed into the game already, they probably got a bit more relaxed. When we saw some very, very uncharacteristic errors from Virgil van Dijk and Alison. With the first one, kind of Van Dijk just dallying on the ball. He had so much time on the ball, just kind of dallying around, not making his mind up, and being caught by Reiss Nelson, and then Lacazette rounding the goalkeeper. And then the second goal as well. It was kind of just a poor pass out poor throw in from Robertson, and then a poor kind of, Alisson should have just cleared the ball. I'm not sure what he was trying to do, play it back to Robertson there. It was kind of a bit of an awkward bounce as well, and we were made to pay. Fair play to Arsenal. They had those chances and they took them. I can't blame them for that. It was our mistakes that we haven't made all season. And it kind of lends to what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode, where I think it's not necessarily the motivation, but the concentration of the players, which is what I think ultimately led to some of those mistakes. And a Twitter kind of a Twitter group that I follow, Empire of the Cop, tweeted something which really made me laugh, which was kind of the mistakes really brought back kind of bad memories of those days when it was kind of like a Skirtle Mignolet at the back, and every time the ball was we were passing it out from the back or playing it in those areas, you were nervous that something like that was going to happen. And thankfully we've moved on from the way we play, and also from those players, and we are a lot more secure at the back. But this game again showed you can't be complacent. You just can't be. We will lose if we're complacent, and this has got to be a theme that we move into. And I'm sure Klopp won't let this happen next season. But we just can't be complacent. If we're complacent against any team in the Premier League, we will be punished, like we were by Arsenal. 2 chances. Other than that, they created nothing. So you look at how many, I don't even know, I know they don't separate shots on target by if you created them yourselves or they came from an error, but I don't think Arsenal created any chances other than that. So we almost just gifted them the win for that. That's how good we are, right? We can give other teams wins. But another thing I want to talk about in the game, and this is not kind of Liverpool related or anything, but a very interesting choice of music by the Arsenal PA team. If any of you guys were watching the game, you may or may not have realised. So when the players were coming out after half time, they were playing It's All About the Game. I think that's the name of the song, which is, for any of you WWE fans who listen to this, is Triple H's entrance music. And it was the most bizarre song to hear at a football stadium. And it's something that I think a lot of football teams have done since the lockdown. I think, I've seen, even at Anfield when we play, they've played some songs, and we're watching a Man City game, and in this game as well, they're kind of playing music, and I think they're trying to do that to kind of imitate an atmosphere. But yeah, the choice of songs are very, very interesting to say the least, and maybe I'll do a video on my YouTube channel or something just analysing the songs played by each team. But yeah, it was very interesting on a little side note there. So very, very strange choice in music. But the second half was very much as you would expect. Us on the front foot, Arsenal basically putting 11 men behind the ball and kind of hoping they didn't concede. And you know what? Fair play, it worked for them in the second half. They didn't concede. We had a number of chances where we should have scored. The main chance in the second half was when Alexander-Arnold was able to cut the ball back into Salah. He was able to amazingly ball roll or kind of just move the ball past David Luiz. And unfortunately, the ball was just under his foot, so he couldn't kind of dig it in the corner. But he was almost, 5 yards out, and unfortunately, it was straight at Martinez, and he was able to save it. But we kept on pressing in the second half. Klopp obviously used all 5 of his substitutions like were allowed, and a couple of the players who came on looked really, really positive. So Minamino came on and did really well. And the good thing I like to see about that is that he wasn't just given 5 minutes like maybe he has in kind of the second half of the season. He was given like a proper 30 minutes. And I think as much as this may be been about fatigue and things like that, I think for me this was very much Klopp seeing whether he can trust Minamino and whether we can play in a way with Minamino there when we have to chase a game, for example. So there will be times, next season when we're trying to win the Premier League again, we're trying to get back into the Champions League latter stages, that we'll need to chase a game, and seeing whether Minamino can do that. And I think that's what maybe Klopp was trying to look for and experiment, and I think he had a really positive influence on the game. He's a little more direct than Bobby Firmino. You can tell he's like trying to score, whereas with Roberto Firmino it's almost like he's trying to play an assist for someone, whereas with Minamino it's very much a bit more direct. and a little less link-up play than you get from Firmino. The other player who came on and had a really good second half, I think, was Naby Keita. Again, for me, it's a toss-up as to whether it's him or Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain who makes it as part of our kind of best midfield. And for me, based on, at the beginning of this episode, I said Oxlade-Chamberlain played really well, but the kind of importance and how good Keita was when he came on really, really impressed me. And the thing that I love about him so much is he picks the ball up and he runs at people. That's so rare, in any league and for any team. We always see players, pass the ball, and there's some great passers of the ball. But you take your Eden Hazards and players like that who want to pick up the ball, and I'm not comparing him to him, but you take your Messi's, for example. They take the ball and they run at people, and that's when defenders panic. That's when space opens up, and that's when he can nick that ball into Sadio Mane or Mo Salah or something like that, and they can finish it off. And that's what I think for me was so impressive about Naby Keita when he came on, and which is why I think he makes it into my kind of top midfield for Liverpool. So as we always do, guys, I'm going to give out my player of the match, and for me it was Sadio Mane by 100%, by a country mile in terms of Liverpool players. I think as I've talked about throughout the theme of this episode, I think the motivation was there, and that was very, very clear to see in Sadio Mane in particular. Both with his goal as well as just his general play and determination and willingness to keep making those overlapping runs. He had a good chance at the end of the second half where he could have possibly put the ball away and made it 2-2, but just everything he played, how he linked up, everything just exemplified kind of what you want to see from a Liverpool team and what you want to see from a Liverpool player. And then to round out the episode, guys, the shout out to Klopp, I think, and this is probably one I've repeated a couple of episodes ago, is play Naby Keita, please. I've just talked about how much I love him, and I really, really, really want to see Jurgen Klopp play Naby Keita more, because he is just so direct, and it's just something we don't have kind of players with abundant skills like that in our midfield. And he just adds something that I think very few teams have in their midfield. So Klopp, please play Naby Keita in our final 2 games. But yeah, we've got 2 final games remaining, one against Chelsea next Wednesday, and then finally against Newcastle. So really looking forward to those and being able to pick up the trophy again after the Chelsea game. So make sure you tune in for next Wednesday's episode. It'll be a special trophy lifting presentation episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode anyway. Make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube if you're not already, and follow the podcast as well. But thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.